Well, good morning, everybody. Daniel Whited here, and we're welcoming you to the Doctor's Clinic Call. Same time, same place, each and every Tuesday. And Dr. Kurt Fisnick is with us this morning. And, Doc, we are so excited about you sharing a very, very serious topic that a lot of people need to learn to talk about. And we love the Doctor's Clinic, where the world is your waiting room, and we can go make a difference in people's lives. And today's topic is going to be about nutraceuticals and medicinal therapeutic nutraceuticals, and why are they important? What's the big deal? A lot of people go, oh well, I eat my fruits each day. Have some veggies each day, and of course most of those things are, unless they're washed in our veggie cleanse, are toxic anyways. But however, when it comes to what we call Tom stuff, the Sisel products, and how he sources his ingredients, that's a game changer, just that topic all by itself. But Dr. Kurt Fisnick, welcome to the call this morning, and take it away, partner.
Hey, DW, thanks for hosting this call every week and helping me out with it. If you guys could just give me 2 seconds, I'm pulling along the road here, and I want to let my dog out so he can run around while I'm on the call. So give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries, Doc. And what he's going to be getting into is why nutraceuticals. I will tell you, you just go to a pharmacy and ask them what the side effects of vitamin C. Ask them what the side effects of our calcium K2. What's the side effects of Ficoidin? What's the side effects of our Spectramax? I can tell you what they are if you don't take them. And but when you do, it's nothing more than just getting healthier and healthier and healthier and healthier, and supporting your body in a way to where it has those nutrients to draw from, and your body really grabs nutrients and draws from nutrients right while you're sleeping. I mean, think of your body as as just a entire grocery store, so to speak, of nutrients. And there's just little conveyor belts with little cups hooked to them, and they go by and they grab a little nutrient here, and they take it to the other part of the body and they drop it off there. If those aren't there, and you need protein, they're going to take muscle. You need calcium, that's going to take bones. But when you provide the proper nutraceuticals, things can make a difference. Doc, you got your dog in position, and are you ready to share today?
I'm ready, DW. Thanks for that. Yeah, we're traveling back from Spokane, Washington. I spent some time over the holiday with my son, and now I'm on my way back to North Dakota. And so I pulled over here where I had a couple of bars where I could be on my phone. Otherwise I don't have any reception.
Perfect timing for us, Doc. We appreciate you very, very much, and I'm going to leave it with you, and we'll catch up later.
All right. Have fun at your appointment. Thanks, DW. And, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Like DW said, I mean, here we have a call that really the world is our waiting room. You can share this call with people. You can share the information with people. And a lot of times, as a doctor, people are coming to me and they're asking, hey, Doc, I got a friend that has this. I have that. What do we do about it? And so I end up sharing information about products. I share information about how to change their diet so that they can get healthier again. And we start looking, why is it today versus we look back 100 years ago or 200 years ago, and people say to me all the time, well, I never used to have to take vitamin C. I never used to have to take that. I never used to have to, have a protein shake. Why is it today that we need to take supplements, nutraceuticals, to supplement our regular lifestyle, our regular diet? And the answer to that is there's a couple of different reasons. And the first one is that when we take a look at the food that we have today versus, I'm 55 years old. When I was growing up, the food that we had was food. It wasn't, it was full of nutrients. It wasn't processed like it is today. I remember that when I went to the little grocery store in my hometown, and I lived in a town of less than 100 people, and we had a grocery store. And you had to go there every couple of days to grab groceries because the milk would go bad on you. It would go bad rather quickly. You had to buy your fruits and vegetables on a regular basis because they would go bad on you. So every little town had to have their own little mercantile grocery type store because the food would go bad. If you go to Europe, You know, my brother lived in Germany for a while, and it was the same thing there, just not that many years ago. And they'd have to go buy their food every couple of days because they knew that it would go bad on them. And here in the United States and in a lot of the Western world, our food is processed. It's filled with preservatives. They're saying now that if you exhume the bodies from a cemetery, from people that had died in the last 10 or 20 years, you'd find that their body is totally preserved because of the preservatives that are found in the food. You'd find that certain parts of the body have been almost plasticized because of the plastics that are added to the food. And so that's one of the reasons that we need to have supplements. We need to supplement. We need to have good nutrients added to our diet, not only to add the nutrients that are missing, but to also help combat the disease that's caused by the chemicals that are found in our food. And so there's a couple of good reasons right there. And you take a look at a head of lettuce, for example, and back in the 50s, a head of lettuce had a lot more nutrients. I've heard from a couple of scientists that you'd have to eat 6 or 7 heads of lettuce today to get the same nutrients that you did from a head of lettuce back 50 or 60 years ago. And you start thinking about that. What about the other food? What about all the other vegetables and food that you have? And then you start looking at the fact that they take a lot of the nutrients out and they use it for other things, like they feed it to cattle rather than leaving it in the food that we're eating. You take a look at bread, and they're adding different chemicals into the bread to make it so that the bread will stay on the shelves of the grocery store longer today than ever before, so it doesn't spoil. And what's that doing to your body? Well, it's making chemical changes on the inside of your body as well as to the inside of that food. So those are things that you really need to look at. But the other thing is that, we're living longer. If you go back 100 years ago and you look at people back then, I mean, if you made it past the age of say 60, you were considered to be an old man back then. And so, we're going to have a lot different nutritional needs for people as they age, and that was something that we didn't need back then. The average person didn't live to be almost 80 years old like they are today. And so your nutritional needs at 30 and 40 are a lot different than your nutritional needs at 60, 70, 80 years old. And so you have to start looking at those things. And what I try and tell people, like I look at myself, and my son and I were sitting out on his deck last night in Spokane, and we were kind of joking about it a little bit. And he says, yeah, Dad, he said, you're planning on living to be over 100 years old. he says, how are you going to guarantee that? And I'm like, well, you can't guarantee it, but here's what I'm doing to make sure that I'm prepared for it, is that I'm making sure that I'm getting the nutrients now that my body needs, so that my cells are going to be healthy enough that when I'm 100 years old, they're going to be healthy. I'm not going to be a little frail old man, all worn out and beat up. And so those are things that you need. And we know that as you age, your body does certain things. And last night Tom Sr. was on the Connect call, and he was sharing with us a little bit about the AGE product. And AGE is an acronym for Advanced Glycated End Products. And what that basically means is that when your body has too many sugars, which we all do right now, what happens is that those sugars act as a toxin, and they combine, they cross-link, and they attach to proteins. And when you have a sugar that attaches to a protein in an abnormal fashion, with this cross-link fashion, what it does, it makes something in your body that your body can't use. So the protein that would normally go to build a muscle, the protein that would normally go to do some certain function, now it can't do its normal function. And so that byproduct of what we call glycation what that does then is that attaches to different areas of your body, and it starts creating almost like a sludge. And what I try and tell people is that, you think about your car, you go out and you spend 30, 40, $50,000 on a car, and you take really good care of it. You take it in, and it has a regular maintenance schedule. They go in and they change the oil, they flush the engine out, they flush the radiator out, they take all that sludge out of there. And your body is the exact same way. It has all that sludge buildup, but we don't have a regular maintenance schedule on our body to kind of flush the system out. And so then that sludge just builds up. So just imagine that you go out and you buy somebody's car from the 1950s and take a look at it. And let's just say that they never actually changed the oil. They just, every time the oil got a little low, let's say that they added a quart. And then it got low again, they added another quart, it got low, they added another quart, it got low, they added another quart, and they never actually changed their oil. So that sludge built up was in the oil pan. So now all of a sudden they've got a bunch of just muck in the bottom there, and the engine doesn't run properly because the crankshaft has to spin around in that sludge, and that sludge almost turns into like a tarry substance. And I've got a little hot rod that I built a number of years ago, and it's got an engine from 1948 in it. So I know exactly what that sludge does, and as it builds up inside that engine, remember that engine's running at a couple hundred degrees, and so it builds up. But not only that, it starts to bake on the inside of your engine, and that's what this sludge is doing in your body, because you got to remember that your body is running at almost 100 degrees, and so then over time that sludge tends to cook, and it bakes. And think of it like for another analogy, just trying to get it so that you can picture this, is that think of it like your oven. If you use your oven a lot and you're baking a lot of casseroles and things like that, and it's cooking over the edge of the casserole pan, eventually all that stuff is going to drop into the bottom of the oven, and let's just say you never clean it out, but over a course of 10, 15 years, you're going to have a lot of baked on grime. And you can go in there with an oven cleaner, and you can spray it on there and use those chemicals, and it eats away a layer at a time, and slowly you'll gradually break that stuff off there, and you can make that inside of that oven look good. Well, here we got a product coming out, and what that actually does is it does the exact same thing. And so using analogies like that, I can paint a picture so most people can get it. If you're into cars like I am, you can picture the oil pan filled up with the sludge. If you're into baking, you can picture the oven with all of the gunk built up inside the oven. And that's what tends to happen. And so then the body, just like that engine, it's operating in an environment filled with sludge, and all of a sudden the body can't do what it's supposed to do. Instead of spending energy building new cells, what it does is it's spending its energy repairing. So you're in a constant state of repair all of the time. And so as you age, all of these cells now that should have been replaced, and all the damaged cells that should have been replaced, instead of being replaced, they're filled up with patches. You got Band-Aids covering up torn Band-Aids, and you got duct tape holding things together. I mean, inside your body, just imagine that's what's happening. And really, I mean, it really is that bad. And I know a lot of people that are going, oh, no, it can't get that bad. Well, start looking at people. And one good way of looking at it is that, if it's glucose or sugar attaching to proteins and cross-linking and making these AGE, advanced glycated end products, then wouldn't you expect it to be worse in diabetic people? Well, the answer is yes. Take a look at your family and friends who are diabetic. And wouldn't you say that they tend to age faster? Right? Take a look at them and you'll see that. Wouldn't you say that for the most part, when you take a look at somebody that's diabetic, they're going to tend to have more old age diseases, and so they're gonna not have as good a chance of making it to old age. They're not going to make it to 100 years old. You don't see a lot of diabetics that make it quite that far into that centurion bracket, and so these are things that you can take a look at, and so that's why we need to have good nutritional products, good nutraceuticals like DW was talking about. And so, here I am. I'm a doctor. I've been a doctor for 30 years, and what a lot of people ask me, well, Doc, what do you take? What would you recommend? And a lot of it really depends on, how much are you willing to spend on yourself? And I tell people that. How much are you willing to spend on yourself? Do you want to spend $2 a day? Are you worth $2 a day? Are you going to spend $5 a day, $10 a day, $20 a day? How much are you willing to spend on yourself? And so when I look at what I do, I'm spending about $20 a day on myself, on my nutritional products and skincare products that I'm using just for myself, about $600 a month. And people go, holy cow, how can you do that? They couldn't afford to do that. Well, it again, to me, it's worth it because I know I'm getting what I need, and with the different products that we're taking with Sisel, the Triangle of Life. You look at the Spectrum Max. I mean, here you have 74 trace minerals, and sometimes you don't need every single one of those minerals because your body is getting enough from the food that you're eating. But how do you know which one you're missing? Right? So I would rather have more than enough than not enough. And so that's why the Spectrum Max is such a great product. It delivers the 74 trace minerals in a way that your body can actually use them. They're chelated properly. And what chelation really means is that they're attached to other nutritional type of ingredients that your body recognizes it as food, and it pulls it into the system, so it pulls it to the proper place, because you don't need vitamin C going everywhere. You need it going to certain receptor sites. You need calcium going to certain places in the cell. And so if you chelate these vitamins and minerals properly, they're going to go where they're supposed to go, and that's what makes Spectrum Max such a great product, because of the way that Tom has designed it. And then we take a look at Eternity. I use Eternity a lot with my clients because I really like having the resveratrol in the high dose that we do. And resveratrol, what does it do in the body? Well, it basically turns on the gene of youthfulness. And you remember back when you were 20 years old and you'd fall down, sprain your ankle, and a couple weeks it was back to normal. We take a look at now at 55, you just don't heal up quite as quickly. So the product the resveratrol that's found in Eternity, that's going to help with that. And then we got the fucoidan that gets rid of the inflammation, and it basically it helps your body, the immune system. And when we're taking a look at cancer, we're all exposed to all kinds of toxins, and according to the President's Council on Cancer, according to the National Institutes of Health, according to the American Cancer Society, 80% of cancer is created by man-made toxins. It's a man-made disease, and so you want to have different products in your body that are what we call anti-angiogenic, and what that really means is that it cuts off the blood supply to tumors. And every day we're exposed to, our body is exposed to hundreds of different cancer cells, and then the immune system recognizes them as being abnormal, recognizes them as being abnormal cells, and then your immune system goes in there and attacks them. Well, if they sneak past your immune system, then what's to stop them from growing and turning into a full-blown cancer? Well, that's why you need the anti-angiogenic type of products like fucoidan, EGCG, which is found in green tea, the resveratrol, like we talked about with Eternity, chaga, even fish oils are anti-angiogenic, and they'll cut off the blood supply to the tumor. And so your first line of defense, again, being your immune system, your second line of defense being the anti-angiogenic products that cut off the blood supply to the tumors. And how do I know this is important? Well, take a look at what the drug companies are doing right now. The pharmaceutical companies are trying to figure out how does resveratrol do that? How does EGCG from green tea, how does it do that? How does it cut off the blood supply? And what they want to do is they want to take and they want to invent a drug that acts like the natural product. And so when you start looking at research like that, you start going, wow, that it has to be important if they're trying to figure out how to make a drug like that. A number of years ago, I heard that they were trying to come up with a synthetic vitamin D, one that they could call a drug, a pharmaceutical. Last year, University of Michigan was talking about or reporting all the benefits of having a good, healthy digestive system, and DW and I have talked about that here on the call. And having a healthy digestive system, they found that 50% of the people that died from taking chemotherapy would actually survive if they had a good, healthy gut lining, if they repaired their gut lining. So using products like probiotics, like found in the Balance D, it can make a huge difference with that. But not just for people with cancer, for every single one of us. And people ask me, well, why do we have so much problems with the colon? And a lot of it is again because of the toxic exposures that we're having. Take a look at what glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, and it's found in a number of other herbicides. What does that glyphosate do? Well, it kills off bacteria, and as it kills off the bacteria in your gut, it's going to make your gut lining so it's not going to be as protective as it normally is. So things that get into the gut, instead of being passed in one end and out the other, what happens is that they're allowed to pass through what's called the gut barrier, and it gets into your body. And so if you can keep your gut lining healthy, it's going to prevent this leaky gut situation that you have, and you're going to find that you're going to be healthier. You're not going to be fighting as many toxins. And again, what can you do once they get past that? Well, that's where you want to use products like the Body Shield, because Body Shield has ingredients that will attach to heavy metals and toxins, and it'll pull it out and it pass it back into the gut in a way that it's safe, and so your body can kind of do almost like a garbage cleanup. And then you have the Super H2 water, where the H2 water has free hydrogen. That hydrogen attaches to these free radicals, to these toxins, and it neutralizes them, basically combines with the toxin to make it into a safe byproduct and water, so your body can pass it out. Kind of like the catalytic converter on your car. It takes the exhaust fumes, runs it through a number of catalysts, and converts it into water. You'll notice if you let your car run sitting in your driveway, you'll notice when after it's run for a while, there'll be a little puddle of water by your tailpipe, by the exhaust. And that's because what it's doing is it's taking the vapors, the exhaust vapors from your engine, and it's combining it in a way with different catalysts, and it's converting it to safer compounds so that we aren't polluting the air so much. Well, you got to do the exact same thing in your body, and that's where Super H2 water comes into play. Combine that with Body Shield, and you've got a powerful device that'll work just like that catalytic converter in your car. and make it so that it makes something that's safe byproducts. And so you start thinking about different things in your body the same way you look at things in the outside environment, and all of a sudden it starts to make sense. And well, as we go from a society where we did a lot of manual labor to one where we're more sedentary, all of a sudden you got to start taking products that are going to boost the metabolism up a little bit, and you got to change your diet. You can't eat the same things today that humans ate 50 years ago because we have totally different lifestyles, and so now here you got a good picture of why do we need nutraceuticals, why do we need the supplements, and more importantly, why do we need good supplements? In the past, they would take and they would make supplements that weren't high quality, and you can still get them. They're still on the market. There's really nobody regulating the industry like they should, and they'll make products that your body can't absorb. A lot of, like, say, the CoQ10 that's on the market, it's actually not in the form of CoQ10. By the time you take it, it's actually CoQ9, and your body can't use it. It can't use it the way that it could CoQ10, and CoQ10 being an enzyme that you need for proper cardiovascular function. And you start looking at different things like that I could spend hours and hours and hours going through it. But that's why we need to supplement in our diet today. So as I look at the time, I've reached the bottom of the hour here, and I know, Helen, you're running the recording there, so I'm going to cut it off with that and just say that we've covered a lot of it, kind of given a broad spectrum view of what everything needs. How's that sound? All right. Well, I'll stop the recording. Everybody have a great day, and this will be posted to the Sisel Doctor Clinic. It'll be posted on that website very shortly. Thank you. Goodbye.